Welcome. Thank you, everybody that has been following me. So, in this day, I am thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for this blessing and opportunity, that I will use it for the greater good. Welcome, my survivors of the journey, to this podcast that aims to inspire and motivate, that you continue to have joy, peace of mind, and to your success. Welcome. This is Nichel Anderson. Thank you for joining my show today, Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. This will be episode 6, part 2 from last week, part 1, talking about interpersonal skills. Okay? Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's get started. Just to give you a recap from last week, from episode 5, starting this series about interpersonal skills. From last week, episode 5 dealt with identifying the situations that requires good interpersonal skills, how you can go about achieving that, and how important really good, strong interpersonal skills will help you in your career as well as your personal life. In this part 2 of dealing with how you can increase your interpersonal skills or get some interpersonal skills. In this episode, part 6, where we continue for part 2, we will talk about more of the different situations that comes up that requires you to be able to identify, as I termed last week, a new phrase that I termed, if it's worth it for a minute. Also, I will jump right into describing those situations in more detail, to the point that when you recognize it, you can automatically remember, okay, I need to, one, remain calm, as I mentioned last week. You need to focus on the facts. You need to remember, what type of situation is this? Is this, in business, at work, or is it a personal type situation that's going on? Because the two matter. If it's business or personal, your approach is a little bit different. If it's business, pretty much you have to be procedural about it. When it's personal, of course, you're more emotionally involved because you're connected to that other person. So those phases take a little bit more time, especially as I mentioned in the business world. Eventually, if your self-worth is diminished, meaning it is constantly being diminished and reduced to falter into other areas of not mental peace, you have to really look at that and decide if it's time for you to do something else, right? To move on. It's not as easy. On the personal side, it's so many different layers, and it's so many different outcomes that can have lasting effects. Of course, with the business side, that's with the financial aspect, but you're able to plan that out more better and make your move when you're jumping from one place to the next, and making sure that that's the right, because just jumping from one place to the next doesn't mean that you're solving anything. So I focus on interpersonal skills because most of the time, if your approach is calm or focused, you could pretty much remedy the situation, or you are an example for that other person of how you and that person should be able to conduct in a very positive, proactive. You want proactive interactions with the communication going back and forth. So in this episode 6, we will continue on with those type of situations, things that people say they have bad interpersonal skills, and how you can overcome that, think forward, and remain calm and professional to get the job done, because interpersonal skills would be your key in both aspects. in your career, business, and in your personal life. It works all the time. You just got to manage your emotions and look at the bigger picture and think forward. So let's go ahead and begin with episode 6, part 2, in this conclusion, talking about interpersonal skills. And all of this and gossip and all of that drama. Quick way to do that is to stay out of it. Okay, if you at a lunch table and that's what they're doing and da 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 and they spreading that mess, you get up and you leave, or you find an excuse to leave. My point is, you don't get into that mix. It never works out that way. All right, and use your time there as a learning opportunity and stay motivated. Use the tools or resources to help you sustain your mental peace. So at this point, that is the number one thing you must hold on to: your mental peace in a corporate environment. Also in your personal relationships, you want to maintain your peace, right? Make sure that you're not giving too much or being too much engaged. That's where it comes to my new tagline: if it's worth it for a minute. Right? You do not want to stay in a nowhere conversation. It's very frustrating and it raises your stress levels. And as I mentioned earlier in this podcast, that before you know it, your stress level is off the charts and it's not even worth it, right? So you have to hold on when you're in that toxicity type of environment and you're dealing with people with poor interpersonal skills that don't know how to communicate, don't know how to address the issue. Stay on the facts, speak calmly, understand the other person's feelings, in the sense of how they feel about something. So the point 2 is, again, if it's worth it for a minute. If the other person is yelling or in any way that's extremely odd and disrespectful behavior, trust me, it's not you. If they're doing that and you know that you being cool and calm and you really trying to work this out, and the other confirmation to that, the conversation is going nowhere. Most of the time they're talking about themselves and what they need to make them feel better and all of this drama. When you thinking about the team project, it is just them projecting their extreme fear, uncomfortable feelings of themselves, so that it's basically disrespectful. It's a disrespectful tantrum that you're dealing with. And I dealt with it, and it's drama. You know how I got out of it? I remained calm, and I thought about the position of the point of view of the other person regarding this particular issue. And I just remained calm. I kept it businesslike, still pleasant to everybody. Of course I was upset. I mean, we're human, right? But I just knew that wasn't going to get the job done. It's just like when you're sweeping up the floor. You can't put the broom down and have a hissy fit because you see all of this, it needs to be clean. Yes, it needs to be clean, but you need to do it in a way that is not drama, that it doesn't blow up in a sense, because the emotions are intact. We would deal with our emotions. You just can't deal with that because that person or those people would not show you the interpersonal skills of respect. That's what interpersonal skills are. It's respecting not only yourself, but the other person. And it has to be in balance through communication, verbal and nonverbal, that you're interacting with someone. And so if you practice the skill set of the points that I mentioned, is to remain calm, to communicate in a way that if it's worth it for a minute, you either need to change strategy, show another example. This could be in a personal relationship, or why this is not working out. This is what I need. I understand what you need. We need to find a common ground. But when you're in a corporate world, it's a different field. It's a different playing field. So by remaining calm, by focusing on the facts, by documenting that you had this conversation, that you have to show effort. You really got to show effort in the corporate world. Of course, you got to show that in the personal world, but you really got to show it in the business world, because that's how senior management, that's how I do it. When I'm on a major project and I'm dealing with other people that I'm leading or what have you, I look to their portfolio of the past of their behavior and how they communicate. That gives me an insight into the future, or give me the insight into the discussion now. This person really proactively trying to solve the problem over some type of other matter. And so prestige leadership in my last episode falls into this, because you got to demonstrate strong interpersonal skills and decision making that brings out a positive reaction for someone that you're dealing with. And when you're in a manager position and you're in the toxicity type of environment, you have to make the decision to eliminate that, because you can have whatever number of the team, and one person that does not have good interpersonal skills will ruin it for everybody else. And as a prestige leader, when you see that, you have to address it, and you have to address it in a very precise way by communicating what's expected, by communicating what is a team. Team is when everybody works together for the common run goal. In a personal relationship, it's a team. It's a team that you and the other person works together for the benefit of having a happy life together. It's in balance. No one's getting more than what they should. They're getting what they need, and it's a complete circle. In the business world, it's the same thing, but it's the different types of rules and approaches. So if you focus on your interpersonal skills, you will show the patterns of your behavior to the members of management, because they are the decision maker. That's what you want. If you got them on your side, it doesn't matter what your team member or colleague, it doesn't matter. That's the key. You got to be genuine with it. Sure, you might disagree. Sure, you want to scream. I've been there. It's like a pot with water about to boil over. You got to learn to turn the temperature down. You got to learn to focus on the bigger and be sincere with it when you do have an issue. Now, toxicity in the workplace, you cannot stay there long or you will go insane. I'm just going to put it out there. It is very draining. It is very high stress. So you have to know the interpersonal skills is really a two-way street, but don't get caught in that other person and all of that drama of why they have poor interpersonal skills. At least you know, but don't get into the drama of this or that. Once you identify it, you move on. Going back to my point, if it's worth it for a minute, you want to have stellar interpersonal skills. If you have that, you will move up. You will have a much better way to maneuver within a toxicity place. Got to be able to look at that. Remember that for each interaction with toxicity, it's a required phase process that gets you out of that craziness, unhappiness at work. Meaning the longer you stay in an exchange with that toxicity, it can cause you harm in your mental state. So you have to identify as soon as possible to the true reason. If the person is really having this or that, if the person has some troll issues or what have you, you want to identify that it's not you. And so you can focus on your path within the corporate world or in a personal relationship. It's kind of, especially if you're living together, what have you, it's a different type of makeup, but you still got to hold on to the true you, or hold on to strong interpersonal skills. It supports your decision making. So getting positive vibes and a positive conversation helps in the sense that you're trying to move forward. You're trying to build a strong relationship with your colleague. Okay? And so that right there gives you the ability to focus on the bigger picture of the project. Now, some key solutions you could do. Number one, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of this podcast, dealing with stress. It helps to sustain our physical and spiritual selves. Performing activities that warrants a way that we see, that it's improving. We feel better. Not even like we see it, but we feel better. It could be in a way that when you get to work, you have some type of motivational either statement or music or something, but just to get you ready for the day, especially if it's a toxicity type workplace, you want to be able to relax. Now, of course, the toxicity will come up because if you either dealing with, a certain team or what have you, And again, you got to go to my key phrase here. If it's worth it for a minute, if it's about a particular client or some customer or maybe some other type of issue, you stick to the facts and you document the things that you need to show how you are being proactive and you providing an effort. And that always works well with me to see that you're actually doing something about it and making a difference, okay? Now, the other solution is for who do you think can fix the issues at work? Of course, it's leadership. And that's where, in my last episode, for you to identify what is prestige leadership. Do you have it in the place that you work or you don't? And that helps to determine if that toxicity will decrease or pretty much you want it to be eliminated. Once you determine that if it's prestige leadership, it will be, because real leadership doesn't tolerate that. You don't have good interpersonal skills, you would not be there long, because they know it's like a domino effect, customers, okay? So for your mental peace, pace yourself to know that decisions to take such a path, if you have to move on, if the toxicity continues on, even though you're showing strong interpersonal skills, rest of the team does not, or the manager does not, then you just have to be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, and focus on the future and plan accordingly, because you cannot stay in a toxicity place long without really losing it. It would just drain your joy, and you want to be in a happy place. Now, I'm not saying to get up and do this and do that ASAP, because I know financially you have to do the things that's best for you and your family, but you have to think about the stress. You would be surprised how high stress can affect your health and your mental peace that fast. Imagine being there for years, and sometimes you can't move because of whatever circumstances, and you can't move on to something. You don't want to keep moving to this and that. That's why I say is to do the approach of focusing on your interpersonal skills, to focus on how you approach things, and that could mean that if it's worth it for a minute and then you get out of it. Because if you think about it, toxicity can be around you, but what really affects you is when it enter your domain, meaning the discussions, and your mind has to process that and how you respond to a conversation to nowhere, or maybe the disrespect, the da da da, right? Because it's coming right at you. You have to put a shield up. You have to, think in a positive way. And it's hard sometimes to think in a positive way when you surrounded by all the negativity that is so disrespectful. So you got to think about how you approach things and how you limit yourself by being engaged with it. Because when you at work, it is what it is. You have to interact, but you don't really have to stay there long. You focus on what needs to be addressed when you're called upon or what have you, and then you just move on and you get out of there. And that usually works up until the time where you feel that it's time to move on. And an environment does exist where you can at least go to work and function and don't have to be so stressed. Because if your stress level is high, you're not, and I know we talk about the financial standpoint on that, or what others is scheduled, whatever it is you need for you to be there, you have to still consider that the longer that you are health-wise, it's not going to pay off in a big way, because on the physical side, it's just destroying you, right? You're so stressed, and everything, and it is like a domino effect, affects everything else. So learn these strategies, and I'm going to just repeat it one more time, is that not only you treat others with respect, even though they're not doing that. Then, of course, if someone's yelling and screaming at you, you got to find a way. I appreciate if you do not yell. I can hear you. Perhaps you want to write it down. You just come up with some other things, but you do it really nice and calm. So you want to create your statement in a sense that it will not offend that person, even though the person is offending you, but you stay focused and you just look forward. And that will mean that you will become a master to change the subject afterwards, especially after the conversations are going nowhere or they disrespecting you. The other thing, you have to expand your network so you get diversified with people. So when it is time for you to leave and you feel like this is the time for me, because a lot of people, when you confide in them and you talk about this and that, even in a personal relationship, they will say, oh, you need to leave. Oh, you just doing this. Oh, you should just need to go right now. Oh, I would never do that. Oh, that's just them just talking as if they got it like that. They always had it pleased. You probably hear their story and they have made some choices that they should have been left 20 or 30 years ago. It's not easy to make a decision to leave, either from the corporate world, to leave that job, or in your personal relationship. So don't beat on yourself and don't jump too fast, right? Your time might not be to jump too fast. This might be still a learning opportunity. It was for me for that job. It was, oh my gosh, it was bad. But if I was not there, I would never have seen what a company could have done better compared to prior to that. I was with a company that done it right. And then it would have never had put me in a position that I could see what was going on that wasn't right for me to write that book. And so that's what you got to look at, or why you still there. It's a purpose for that. But you got to see the signs, the stop signs that come up as if you're riding your life bus, is when it's time for you to move on, and you get off that bus and you get into a new opportunity. And that's why I'm mentioning the stress factor, that to look at that and to make sure that your stress levels is not off the charts, because if it is, you got to plan to move. It's a better way. And so never forget to always reassess your value of worth. That's another thing. If your value of worth at work or in a relationship is being diminished, reduced to something that is not right, then it's not in balance, and it's time to consult with someone to be able to give you better options that you could choose that will bring you the joy. So do what you need to do now to prepare for a possible move. Research, network, and learn when you're in those conversations or those situations to just focus on if it's worth it for a minute. Is this conversation going somewhere? Am I being blamed and I know I didn't do nothing wrong? Has this happened before and I already know the outcome? This is going to happen, which is just more toxicity. How can I get out of this? What should I say? You stick to the facts and you change the subject. Okay, that's what you do. And you disengage into any type of situation or group or clique that just want to keep that drama going. And you limit the information of anything about you don't want someone else to be gossiping about or saying anything about. And you show with behavior of how you are committed to the job, even if you just can't stand it, or even if that's not where you see yourself in the next 4 or 5 years. You just do the best that you can and you keep it like that, because you want that on your portfolio when it's time to look at that, if it so happens. And I'm telling you, that's what got me the things, or got the situation to turn in my favor, or based on my behavior. So let's look at your task to dawn, my new segment. Your task to dusk to dawn is basically what I mentioned earlier, is that you want to expand your network. You want to keep a diversified network of people all the time, right? Those are the people that you can contact when you're ready to make your move. And that could be in the corporate world or your personal world. The other thing is that you want to keep a positive reinforcement type element around at work or around your home. So listening to soothing music before you step into that office is always good. Having some type of water element, which I would do a segment on water. It's a very powerful element. It's very soothing. People flock to the beach, to resorts on the beach. They love it because it's this very natural element that calms them down. Because when you're in a high stressful environment, you need things that immediately give you calmness. When you in a very stressful meeting, you come back to your desk, you want to be able to be soothing to pump you up. It's just like stopping at a gas station. You need to be, refueled up because you've been so drained. And in a toxicity type environment, that's basically the name of the game. I will drain you with my toxicity. I will talk to nowhere about things that doesn't matter. It just makes me feel better about myself, right? You don't have time for that, because you don't have time for depression, because you deserve a joyful life. You also never want to forget to, again, to reassess. So my task for you to Don is that when you get home, you get writing on paper, or even recording it on your phone, because you can record now. You could just say some positive things about yourself, in the sense that I am worth it, that I do deserve respect, and I will show respect. Something like that, very soothing, and that you can listen to that later. So try to find a way that you can come up with something to reassess your value of worth. That's very important, because it ties to your self-esteem. And in my previous episode, I talk about that, which is episode 3, is your value of worth, and how you measure that, and your self-esteem is tied into that. Okay? So just a recap here is interpersonal skills is a two-way street. You just make sure on your side of the road you are delivering the good deeds, being respectful. I'm telling you, it matters in the corporate world what you do. The other person can do whatever. When the other person not doing such to you or others, they are planting bad seeds. And I said that bad deeds are seeds, and you want a good harvest. And I'm a witness to it. When I did that, the good seeds, it paid off. When something was coming to a head, I got what I wanted for my senior high up. It works every time. And we all know how that harvest will turn out. You want it to be a good harvest, not a bad harvest. So let's go ahead and close this out today. I also want to mention to you that I provide career consultation, offering the first 30 minutes are free. So if it is an emergency after hearing your initial circumstance, I will consider a full free consult, because I've been there, and it's your livelihood and your mental peace, which is very serious. Plus, it's the corporate world, and it's very tricky. It's political. You have to know the players. And I'm very good in identifying who's who, what you should do once we get to talk about it in depth. You can email me with any questions about my consultation that I offer, which is info@nichelanderson.com. If you're interested, we can go ahead and go forward, and you can book a session with me. And my official website is nichelanderson.com. Click on contact, and you will see a form for you to go ahead and fill out. And don't forget to subscribe to my podcast. This concludes part 2 of a short series that I started last week with episode 5 for part 1. Thank you so much for joining me for part 2 in episode 6 on this important topic, interpersonal skills. Another thing I want to add regarding contacting me, if you want to have a consultation, or you just have questions that you want me to answer on the show, you can either email me, which is the best method. It's info@nichelanderson.com. You can fill out a contact form on my website. Just clicking contact us, and then it would take you to that form to fill out. Now, I have seen where people are looking at my international numbers, phone numbers. Those are usually when I'm doing free webinars that people can call in. But if you wish to, for people that wish to call in, but if you wish to communicate with me by phone through one of my toll-free numbers, it's best to send me an email so we can set up that time. Now I am on Skype, and that's Nichel.Anderson on Skype, and we can talk that way. If not, if you just prefer, because I have seen people, when I look at my stats, that they're reaching, or at least trying to communicate to me, I don't get any type of response coming in. I just see some traffic going to my international numbers page, which is basically when I'm doing live events. I don't have any live events scheduled anytime soon. So if you're in need for some type of consultation, you're needing some information from me, it's better to use my email address, and then we can communicate that way and perhaps set up a time where we could talk either by Skype or some other means. If you don't have access to Skype because you're not in the United States or in a country that have that accessibility, then please go ahead, send me an email, and we can set something up that you could use that international phone line based on your country. Now, how that is set up, of course, I will have to be the leader of that in executing that and setting that up so you can get access to dial in. I am not plugged in into the toll-free number system unless I'm setting up a particular time frame that I will be. So when you look there and you're trying to call there, how that is set up is where it's some type of special event, or we have communicated prior to that I will be plugged in into the phone system waiting for the participants to enter by a conference call. Okay? Again, if you have any questions, please, I don't bite. Go ahead and send me an email, and you can direct message me on my social platforms. I'm usually on Twitter in the morning and sometimes in the afternoon, but most of the time in the morning. And you can use Facebook at my fan page, and you can direct message me there if you have any questions or concerns, or you just need to talk about something. Trust me, I understand. I really want to help you, and we can get it done. And don't forget to subscribe to my podcast and share as well. My podcast homepage is Nichel Anderson, the number 7 dot podbean.com. So that's N as in Nicholas, Ichel, Anderson, the number 7 dot podbean.com. Also, my show is on iTunes. You can download it straight from the iTunes page. Also, you can go to my homepage on Podbean, connect and download iTunes from there as well. Follow me on social media. My official Twitter account is twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. Facebook, so that's facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. And also visit my official website, which is nichelanderson.com. That's where you can learn more about the things that I do, my courses that I have, and as well as webinars at times that I do. And also you can find out any new updates of projects that I aim to create and produce. But mainly you can find out more information about my courses that I have, my classes, and sometimes future webinars that I do for free. This show notes will be provided for you that will list any information to read up on when you are able to do so, and any website links if mentioned in this broadcast. You can as well purchase my Corporate America Surviving Your Journey Choice Success book on Amazon, as well as my other book, Mitzrayim, a memoir. It is also available on Amazon.com, as well as any other book retailer that you prefer. All right, just to recap some information on my podcast show, Surviving Your Journey, Choice Success. Regular new broadcasts are Mondays by 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Guest interviews are pre-announced as soon as confirmed. Now, if you want to be a guest speaker on my show that listeners can gain insight, be motivated, and encouraged about your message or product or service that you have that can benefit others, please complete a guest speaker application form. You can locate that on my Podbean homepage that houses my audio podcast. Okay, so that's Nichel Anderson 7.podbean.com. Also, if you go to my official website, nichelanderson.com, and click on podcast, you will see at the top menu to the right, if you own a PC, if you're on a PC or a Mac. If you're on a mobile phone, then of course you have to kind of maneuver a different way to see that menu, but you will see podcast show, and then that way you can see that link that will take you to complete the guest speaker application form. And I do get that and look that over. To get a response back that you are approved can take around about 48 to 72 hours, maybe longer depending on when you have submitted it, like on the weekend. Now, if you have any questions to answer during my podcast, you can send it to info@nichelanderson.com, or you can direct message me on Twitter or Facebook. Now, I'm also on Skype. Okay, so my Skype ID is nichel.anderson. Okay, so this concludes my podcast show today. I hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Please follow me on my social media and subscribe for future podcast airings of my show. My Twitter account is twitter.com/Nichel Anderson. Again, facebook.com/Nichel Anderson fan page. And also, you can visit my official website, nichelanderson.com. They are also premium podcasts priced and provided conveniently online for easy access on Nichel Anderson 7 podbean.com, where it houses all of my podcast episodes. You can find that option for premium podcasts where you will have access to get more of my content instead of the free episodes that I roll out weekly. And also, I am planning on releasing short stories. I used to do that as well when I had that opportunity at sweet101.com as the columnist for the Harlem Renaissance. In between my research and my articles, I started like short stories, and people seem to enjoy those stories. And also that can tie into my other creative projects that I have going on as well, besides my courses that I have on my website, which is Dawn of New Day and Mole. So I am planning to do short stories from those types of productions and even new ones as well. And so I will basically have that type of content specifically for the premium paid podcast. Okay, so I plan on to have specifically for that type of literary creative side of me content available in the premium paid podcast. Okay, so please visit the show notes as well for each of my podcasts. It is located on the home page. So concluding my podcast today, I would like to leave you with my message for you. Be you that strengthens and inspires your ability to be strong in your journey endeavor. It's a good thing towards your mental peace and joy, always to your success.